So for this Sandbox episode, we are excited to talk to somebody who I'm fairly confident you've seen her work. If you are on Instagram at all and you ever use that Discover feature, I'm sure it is just a smattering of her work all inside there because she is producing non-stop. We are talking to freelance illustrator and character designer Erin Hunting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Erin to the show.
All right.
Erin, we're so glad that you are joining us, first of all, across the globe, because you are not here in the United States. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and it's, very different time zone to you guys at the moment, I'm sure.
It's a bit dark here right now.
Yeah, it's a little dark. It's okay, but
You're in
we'll get through this
compared
together.
to us. You're in the next day, I think.
Yeah,
I'm in the future, that's right, that old joke.
Yeah, that
old
joke,
joke.
Luke.
Yeah.
That's okay. All I know is old
Get
jokes.
some fresh material, Luke.
All I know is
Oh my
old jokes,
God.
guys.
It's as old as that
What
beard.
happened?
Go ahead.
So, Erin, we're super excited to talk to you. Your style is kind of so unique and unmatched, and you see it and you know it at a glance. And so I've been admiring your work for a long, long time. So if you could, before we jump into anything else, just give us the quick Wikipedia page of who you are for those who are out there and maybe haven't seen your work or aren't familiar with it.
Okay, well, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, so I'm fairly isolated as far as location goes. There's a few Australian illustrators out here, but I've been around for a while, since the DeviantArt days and Blogger and stuff like that. It's probably been in the last 5 years maybe. People have maybe known my name a little bit more. Part of that's to do with drawing the Grumpy Cat cartoon logo that has people have probably seen around the traps. And since then, I've sort of got more into doing character design. I've done some stuff for Sesame Street, visual development, and Nickelodeon. And more recently, I've been getting into comics, been doing a few comic covers like Rick and Morty and Adventure Time. And yeah, that would bring us up to date, I would think. The very quick bio.
Yeah,
Wikipedia.
no, that's good. That's good because we're going to dive into several of these things over the next few minutes with you. But first and foremost, I want to start off with maybe what is an obvious question, and so let's start here and then kind of build off of it. Where does this aesthetic come from?
My style.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So where does your style, your drawing aesthetic come from? Because it's very unique.
I don't really see it as unique. People say, oh, you draw really big glassy eyes. I'm like, really? And then I look back, a couple of weeks later, and I honestly don't see it. I'm like, okay, yeah, they are pretty big. I think it's just really been continual drawing. It's just something that sort of comes naturally, I guess, to every illustrator. And it just, you don't really notice changes in your work until you look back on stuff. So it's kind of a hard one to explain.
So let me ask you this then, because you made the comment that it comes very natural. Do you find yourself trying to push your style in a different direction, or is it kind of like this is the natural overflow of your bent, and so you just continue to produce in that vein? Like, how much are you actively shifting the type of work you're doing, and how much is your work just, again, like a natural overflow?
I'd say it's largely natural. Things I'll look at. I try and be as critical of my own work as I can. Like, I'll think, my work's looking a bit stiff. I need to work on, pushing a bit more action into my characters, or focusing a bit more on background, or I've been doing a lot of line work. Maybe my colours need a bit more of a push, and I think that will then sort of push me into perhaps changing my design a little bit. But it's not something I'll actually go, I'm going to change my eyes or the noses, or make the heads bigger or anything. That would be more of a subconscious change, I would think.
Cool. So I want to go back a little bit and then talk a little bit about how you got into illustration. Was it a thing of growing up? Were you always drawing, or did you come to that later in life?
No, I've always drawn, and my mum says my kindergarten teacher actually said pretty much in all seriousness, the only reason I would actually attend there was because to paint. Because I used to love painting. They had like a little easel there, and I thought I was, pretty good there. I used to wear this plastic fire helmet and paint on the easel there. Yeah. And then it was something I used to do I noticed it was probably a bit more unusual when I was about in 6th grade, grade school, when a lot of kids would, draw at school and sort of leave it there. I would actually go home and draw, and I created these like bulldog characters. I was very influenced by early 1992 when I went to Gracie High, and they wore tight. They wore tight jeans and wore denim vests, and I used to have these sort of serious sort of school issues that I used to draw. So it was really then great year 7, year 8 when I noticed that I was pretty much one of the only ones drawing cartoons in my spare time, and with the other kids, didn't bother.
I want to know a little bit about, because if you were to look at your work, it's pretty vast in terms of what the subject matter. It kind of it ranges everywhere from Grumpy Cat to cartoons, like you mentioned already, to like Sesame Street. A lot more of these playful things, but then there's also some not quite so illustrated or not so animated type things that you've done as well. What draws you to these different subjects? Is it purely the paycheck, like people coming and paying you to do this, or is it like you just are really into these different properties?
No, I'm genuinely into different properties. If people that know me in real life, they know if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. And I think if people are drawing fan art or properties for the point of trying to get likes or just for the point of it, I think it shows. I don't think people respond so readily to that. And I think I'm in my later 30s now, so I think I've probably got a bit more nostalgic about things and properties that I grew up with. But I have a genuine love. I've always loved. I mean, as a kid, I used to have little figurines of Garfield and Odie and Gumby on my thing, and now I'm just an older lady with the same figures on my desk. I get a real thrill out of drawing them, and I've had the opportunity. I mean, nothing's more flattering than having working for a Sesame Street type thing and working on certain characters that I grew up with. It's like, I can't believe I'm getting trusted to draw these things. So,
right,
yeah.
Man, I just love this so much. And I'm sitting here kind of going through your feed while we're talking. You post so much stuff. This is just incredible. So last week on the show, we were talking to a gentleman named Lenny Terenzi, and he's an illustrator and a print shop owner, kind of more in our neck of the woods. And he was actually talking about the fact that he's going through this season of creative block. I mean, that he's just finding it really difficult to even put pen to paper. And it's just somewhere he's found himself the last couple months. And I have to imagine, especially as long as you've been doing this, that you've had those moments as well. So again, I'm seeing the amount of work that you're producing, but I'm curious, when you hit those moments where maybe you don't feel like doing something or you're not sure what direction you want to go, then what? What is your approach to getting past that? Or do you just kind of allow it to run its course?
I don't, and this is probably going to sound false, I don't have a real lot of art blocks. Maybe I did, a few years ago, where I used to have more breaks, but I remember even back in, the DeviantArt days where it wasn't so obvious how much you were updating your social media, like a Twitter or an Instagram is, and I used to draw a lot then too. And people always said, oh, it's insane, why do you draw so much, thinking maybe I'm doing it to, get more followers or to stay, relevant in people's minds. I don't know, but I just genuinely enjoy drawing it. And I think part of that which helps me is that I draw both traditionally and digitally. And traditional almost feels like letting my hair down. Just feels like I don't even really have to think about it. It just feels relaxing. And I'm always sort of challenging myself, thinking, I might try a bit of white ink in this or a little bit of white pencil, or I've just watched this, Ninja Turtles, and how cool would it be to draw Michelangelo? I sort of see different thing to his character. So, I mean, obviously I do have days where I'm probably feeling a bit more lackluster, but I think in some ways, for the most part, I'm lucky where drawing sort of reinvigorates that passion.
And
totally.
you do enough of it that it seems to keep you moving. Like you don't get static with it because you're constantly doing something new. I've seen that be a theme through your work, is that you're always drawing. Like, your feed is proof that you are always drawing something.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I have been told I do work reasonably fast, and because drawing for me has always been quite a solitary experience and one that I actually like being solitary. I'm not really one that, wants to hang out with local creators, not because I dislike them, but I find I don't like I think it's easy to sit and talk about doing things and you don't really do them. I would rather sit and be drawing in a corner with my music on quite happily. So I forgot where we're going with that, sorry.
No, totally.
No. It's just that you are always drawing. You're always producing something.
Yeah, so it's just something that it's like breathing and stuff for me. Because I do tradition, that's right, I was saying about how I work fast. So when I do those traditional pieces that you may see on Instagram, that takes me probably an hour and a half, maybe two, if I'm really, detailing a piece. So to me, I'm not labouring over it for 5 hours and thinking, oh, I hate this and all this, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to probably learn from it. And, so for me, it's kind of, I can't see how that can't be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Sure.
Totally. I mean, so the two things I noticed, one is that it looks like you fall asleep with pen on paper and then you wake up and just keep going. And then the second...
Or maybe even continue to draw while you're asleep. Because
while you're sleeping, whatever that is. And then the second one is color. I mean, bright. It makes me feel like your life is rainbows and butterflies everywhere because you just have I almost want to say aggressive color. It's just very bright and glossy and, that feel. So what is that piece of it? Is that because it fits the character? That's just the aesthetic? Is it because you have these really fun thoughts when you're working on it? Where does that come from?
Well, again, it's not something that it's like sort of describing what clothes you wear. You don't really think about it. You're attracted to them, you whack them on. But it's a bit the same with colour. I mean, if you're talking about the traditional, it's Copic. It's like inked from a pen. It's not something that I create. It's not like where I'm mixing paints or something and creating a certain colour. But I guess in that way, I am attracted to sort of more colourful colours. And the irony of that is that I only used to work predominantly in black and white up until about maybe 12 years ago before I got into doing digital and found Copics. And so I don't think I'm a bit like overly happy person. I always sound sarcastic and probably not very impressed. But inside there is this bubbling passion, I guess. But I am passionate about artwork and drawing and things around me, things that I really like. I mean, I hate what I hate and I love what I love. I'm quite black and white. And I suppose I like thick black line work. I like thick colours.
Yeah.
And bright colours, I should say. So I guess it's something, again, I kind of find it hard to describe, but I guess that's just what I'm attracted to and like.
Cool. So I want to go back and I want to know the story of Grumpy Cat and how that came to be, because that was a huge thing. So where did that come from?
I love cats. I've always loved cats, and I have a ragdoll cat called Louie, who, if people are familiar with my Instagram feed, will probably see him on there. Mm-hmm. And I saw this picture of this. It looked like a really pissed off Louie, but it was the Grumpy Cat. And I thought, I found out it was a little girl cat, and that she was this becoming an internet phenomenon. She wasn't quite, the commodity that she is today. But anyway, I thought it should be fun to draw, so I drew it. And thought, maybe the owners will get a bit of a kick out of it. Looks all right. Didn't think too much more about it. And then a couple of months later, I got an email from Grumpy Cat's owner, the brother who took the photos. And he was inquiring about would I want to sell the image. And I said, well... Yeah, I gave him a sort of a quote or talked about licensing, but he wasn't interested in licensing, but was interested in that right quote, and didn't hear back from him. And then about 3 months later, I got an email from their manager. And from there, it was, I'd also had it stolen in between. It was getting on eBay.
Yeah.
It was on all sorts of, from Hong Kong and China and America and Australia. And I would be emailing people saying, that's my image, take it down. They're like, no, I created this. I got a graphic designer to create this. I'm going to get my lawyers onto you. And I was like, well, go ahead. I'm going to do the same thing.
Wow.
I'm going to do the same thing. So, and in between that, so then I talked to their manager, and he still wasn't really really happy with the price that I wanted. So we had to negotiate, and I eventually sold the image anyway. And yeah, so that's why you see all my Grumpy Cat art on all the merchandise, which ironically actually isn't sold here in Australia, so I actually rarely see it.
Huh. So if you need someone to buy one for you and send it to you, I think I know a guy. That's probably going to be all right.
Yeah, me, because Andrew's broke.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's not going to be me, but I know a guy.
So I'm curious then, because it's funny. It reminds me a bit of I am blanking on her name, but like Trash Dove. What's her name?
You were talking.
Sid, someone?
Yep, Sid Weiler.
Sid Weiler,
Sid,
yeah.
yes.
Sid, yeah.
And that's that obviously is like a thing that blew up. But she, in talking to us, we had a conversation at Creative South, and in fact, she joined us on one of our hot seat episodes, and she ended up saying that was actually that it became a really tough part of her life, having to deal with all the infringement and people stealing it, and it led to a lot of like basically battles, and it just became actually. I think there was a part of her that kind of wished it had never been the phenomenon that it was, because it just became so much to manage. With the stuff that unfolded with Grumpy Cat with the cartoon, I'm curious, was it kind of a similar thing? Like, is that something that you're really proud of, or was it kind of a lot of headache and you maybe wish it didn't blow up as much as it did?
It was a huge headache, and even today I still get emails from people saying, have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? And I'm like, well, the image doesn't belong to me, and I try and make it well known on social media that I did create it, because no one else really seems to be saying that, like the owners and that don't seem to be, not that, yeah. I mean, you think who designed Ronald McDonald, who designed the McDonald's logos, the original creators really don't usually get credited. But because it wasn't my thing too, I did the fan art purely because I thought the cat was cute. It looked like my cat that was annoyed and all the rest of it. It was hard. If it had been like my own creation, I probably would have felt better about it. But look, I wouldn't regret it. It's probably got me a job and maybe got me into a spotlight that I possibly wouldn't have. And I've tried to embrace it. As I said, I own it, and it's in my bio and all the rest of it. But you find out, the parasites come out in terms of, just how rude people can be, and the audacity that, that they're selling your work and stuff and changing it, and they don't care about the art or the artist. It's all about, making a quick buck on eBay or Etsy, and so while I don't completely regret it, I could have done without all the BS and the time wasting that happened with it.
Especially considering how important production is for you and getting work out there. I can imagine that dealing with the administrative stuff it's just not up your alley. At least that's what I'm gathering from you. It's kind of a necessary evil, but you would much rather just be drawing, right? I mean, that's you. That seems like that's up to you. I have also noticed on your website, it's at least at a glance the only one of your pieces that actually is watermarked Erin Hunting, which is probably smart and probably lesson learned for you, right?
Well, the problem was because the Grumpy Cat, I think at the time they were sort of posting pictures of fan art of the cat. And I think you had to email them, and it wasn't like a high res copy, but it wasn't like a pixelated version. So they kept that on their website. So people were actually right clicking, saving it, and they were tracing it, and all the rest of it, vectoring it. But I've still got it on my website, with the watermark, which is probably defeats the purpose because it's already been done and dusted. But it's just.
I think it's smart. So talk to us a little bit about so we've talked to lots of illustrators, lots of artists who are freelance, and you're freelance only, which is an important thing for us to note, because a lot of people, it's really important to understand that this is the work you're doing full time, all the time. But a lot of the people that we talk to all kind of have, not all, but a lot of them have this idea that community is a really big piece of what they do. And having, to stay connected with people, to work around people is really important to what they do. I was kind of hearing through what you were saying a little earlier that maybe that's not so much an important thing to you. And that you would be just fine to kind of put in headphones and just do your work and kind of shut everything out. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Is that just a personality trait? Have you had bad experience with like a creative community, or like where does that come from?
Well, I think just going back to where I am in Melbourne, we're probably like the arts capital of Australia. So we've got like a out of Australia, we've got probably the larger comic community. It's very independent. It's very like people hunched over bits of paper doing like their cross-hatching, their black and white comics, and really only selling to a local audience maybe. And things like fan art are kind of, not all the time, but they're looked down upon like a bit of a sellout.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have chosen probably not to hang around those people.
Sure.
Like I've met them, I've mingled, they're fine. But I also am, ever since I was a kid, even my friends just want me to go over to their house and I'd make up lies. Sometimes get my mum to say, can you just tell Susie Bob that I'm sick? And I would go and get my Richie Rich and Archie comics and do that, and I would draw my bulldogs. I was always very happy, very self-contained, doing what I love doing, and that probably hasn't changed. Well, I love going out and having, communicating and stuff. I also, it's equally necessary for me to come home and just have my cat and my stuff, and I couldn't create if I was out all the time socialising. And as I said, there's also a bit of a thing I found in the Australian industry anyway, is to sit around and whinge about why you haven't got successful, and whinge about the local industry and all that sort of stuff, and then really do nothing about it. So I just find, even when I did art school, like kind of like a TAFE. I was actually doing like 2 years of learning fine art. I wanted to learn about colour and gouache and a few things. It was about 10 years ago, and I would sit in my class and talk to my friends, and then I wouldn't really do much work. Then I would go home and do all like my cartooning and sketching and my school's work. So I guess it would be a personality thing, is the simple answer. But yeah, that's just sort of been like a running theme through my life,
Sure.
I suppose.
Sure. I'm gonna completely pivot. You mentioned when you're drawing, you're listening to music. What are you listening to? Like, what's the music that's go-to for you? What kind of stuff you like?
I listen to some soundtracks like Jude and Brides of Christ, a local thing. Instrumental, I find that, somebody just want to tune out. Otherwise, I'll just listen to, The Pretenders, Adelita, she's an Australian singer, Tori Amos, all sorts of different things. But there's a time, I'm not one of those people that will listen to, I will listen to podcasts, but I'm not someone who has Netflix on. I know I've heard illustrators who watch Netflix. Like if I want to watch a TV show, I'll actually sit there and try and watch it. I can't sort of concentrate and be doing work and watching Netflix.
Right.
So, but music is an important part. I think it's sort of my company, and sometimes it annoys me and I flick it off, but for the most part it's sort of on in the background, or when I'm drawing, and that's why I often have it in my my drawing videos on Instagram too, to sort of have a snippet of my process.
Right. Do you find that different music you put on for different types of things? I mean, your style is very recognizable, but do you find yourself listening to certain music based on different things you're doing?
No, I said I'm a bit of an old lady now, so I'm sort of more into the old. I'm not listening to the hip hop or the Bieber or,
Right.
whatever the kids are listening to.
Sure.
I often think the kid, because I'm assuming like I have young kids and they're like, what the hell is this Nana listening to? But
You're like you're mid 30s, right? Or like you're in your 30s, right?
I just see you wearing like a knit sweater, just like wrapped up
over
and bundled.
over a muumuu with slippers on. Yeah, like that's the picture you're painting of yourself. But I imagine that's probably not you.
No, like I've always been a bit of a Nana. Like I said, even like where I was flicking my friends off to stay home and read like old comics from the 70s. I mean, who does that? I mean, I guess some of us do. But I think also being on Twitter and stuff, I notice my age. Like a lot of people are, posting the selfies and then talking about their particular days that they have. And it irritates me a little bit. I am like one of those crotchety old nanas on the balcony saying, "You kids, what are you doing on Twitter these days?"
Sure.
Are you so would you consider yourself the personification of Grumpy Cat then? Like, is that why you've connected so well with that character? Because that's as you're saying that, I have the Grumpy Cat image up in front of me that we've been talking about, and I'm just picturing this cat saying all of the words you're just saying to us about the kids. I have been told I don't suffer fools gladly. Like, I think I'm friendly and I'm very open and stuff, but at the same time, I've got to a point in my life where there's no BS, and so I'll make that known. But that's also why I also don't post a lot on Twitter. Like, a lot of people get on their soapboxes and be ranting, and I just think, I think when you're in your 20s, maybe you feel more entitled to do that. I'm not sure, but
yeah,
I prefer my drawing to do the talking, really.
Yeah. So I have one question, and then I'm going to lead us into final questions. My first one, I know this is my way of cheating to get to ask two. Yeah. My first one is when you, I guess, transition into making the decision of like, I'm just going to say what it is, cut the BS, get to the point. Did you see that it could be personal or professional, but that your relationships improved because of that? Like, do you think that served you very well?
What, my relationships in person?
Like, I'm thinking like professional relationships. I think for instance, it's very easy to like always want to put up a really good front to somebody because it's like a client and you want to make sure that everything's smooth, and maybe that creates more problem in the long run. Like, maybe sometimes we just need to get to the point and move on. I don't know if you've like felt any of that.
I will, as I said, I actually don't post a lot of that, so I prefer my drawing to do the talking. I am very aware of, potential clients. I don't want to be carrying on or having dopey selfies with me, with my lipstick on and with my finger in my mouth or whatever. I mean, if people want to do that, so be it, good on them. But that's not for me. So I'm sort of aware of that, but I'm also not going to be a sourpuss or probably, rather than being a grumpy cat, I have no tolerance for BS. It's more that sort of, maybe it's being Australian, maybe it's my personality, but I definitely wouldn't have that come across on Twitter because people can take it the wrong way, and it's the fine line with social media.
All of Luke's posts are lipstick in his finger in his mouth.
Yeah.
It is my nightmare.
Every single
I like my finger.
He just keeps doing it.
The problem, Patrick, is it's on you because you don't have to print every one and put it in your bedroom.
Yeah.
That's on you.
If you keep liking them, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so my actual final question. So I've gone through, I thought that like I could make a dent in your feed, and I swear I have been here just scrolling endlessly. And you've done every property ever. I don't think there's a single property you have not done a portrait of. Do you have a favorite? I mean, do you have one that you're just like a show or a movie that you would say like is your go-to when you want something to watch, or just maybe a favorite one to draw, and maybe those are the same thing or a different thing?
I think it changes. I think as far as drawing, I'll stick to that. At the moment, I'm just Muppet and Sesame Street obsessed again. I've always enjoyed drawing them, but I always seem to come back to them. And I would love to do a Sesame Street or someone to employ me to do like a picture book or something. I would love that. I just love Jim Henson's designs, and probably actually, funnily enough, more of a Sesame Street nerd than a Muppet nerd as I'm getting older, which is odd.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I do go back to certain things. There's certain characters I like. There's, I mean, I'm at the moment, I'm really excited to watch Stranger Things again and getting ready for Stranger Things too. I'm sort of amped to maybe do a bit of fan art with them, and they're such cool characters to draw. Dustin with his cap and his curly hair, and Eleven with her shaved head. So that'll be probably my next thing to sort of maybe go back to drawing and as well as doing the Halloween, because Halloween's coming up and I'm excited to draw some monsters and stuff like that.
Nice.
Totally.
All right. Well, my final is going to kind of be in the same vein, I guess. Being that you have done fan art or have worked with so many different properties, is there like that one that is still like in the distance that you're like, if I could just work with them, or I haven't done this fan art of this property, it's on my list. Like, what is that property that you either want to work with officially or do some work of?
Gosh, I really don't know. I have been really, really lucky this year. I've got to do some really... I can't talk about it. I'm drawing and writing a comic at the moment for Boom Studios on a licensed property, which is like my 10-year-old self would be... I don't know what she'd be doing, but yeah, she'd be pretty excited.
Awesome.
And that's coming out early next year. I can't wait to sort of show that. Cool. Maybe go back to Sesame Street or the Muppets. I can't really think.
Okay, that's cool.
Man.
Hang on. Sorry, I've just remembered there's one thing I would love to work on is if they did a Gremlins comic. I love the Gremlins.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Is there a comic for that at all?
No. I can't believe they haven't.
Yeah. If there's comics people listening and you have the ability to get that license, we've got someone who would love to do it. And you have at least one person who will read it.
I love the let's pitch it. If someone else can do this for us, thanks. That wasn't a very strong pitch, but great.
I don't have the ability to make that happen. That's a great one, though. Gremlins, it would be a super fun one. Okay, so here's my question. It's gonna maybe require you to get out of your comfort zone maybe a little bit. If you were sitting here and today you were told today's the last day you'll ever be able to draw anything, and you're not going to be able to draw, maybe not because of any physical reason or whatever, you're not going to be able to make a living by drawing. What is the thing you do tomorrow and for the rest of your life to make a living and to get that same kind of fulfillment you get now out of drawing?
I don't think I'd be able to find the same sort of fulfillment. It'd be totally different, but I would probably try and work with animals. I really love animals, so I would probably go on to doing something like that. But yeah, it would be a totally different thing, but that would be a bit boring, but that would be what I would probably end up doing.
Sure. That's awesome. So tell everybody where they can find what you do, where they can connect with you, they can follow you and support you by buying things from you and good things like that. I'm
Erin Hunting on Instagram and Twitter, which is where you'll find me more. Facebook, I think it's Erin Hunting Illustration. I've got an Etsy account. I think that's Erin Hunting Art. But I'm selling a few original artwork, but I'm actually sort of ceasing the prints a little bit and just more focusing on just selling some original Copic illustration.
Perfect. Yeah.
So that is where you'll find me.
I'm going to ask a bonus question because why not? How do you choose whether you're going to do like a hand-drawn thing using the Copic markers and pen and ink and all of that stuff versus doing digital? Like how do you differentiate? How do you choose?
At the moment, I have been doing a lot of Copic and traditional artwork, mainly because I have been doing this comic for Boom and a few things for a book company. So my eyes are killing me and I still want to do something for myself. So that is a lot easier to do. So but really, I will also, usually digital is if I want to do something for my portfolio, because I think that usually looks better than, if you're scanning hand-drawn things. That's usually how my decision is made.
Gotcha. All right. So it sounds like it's more practical as opposed to which one feels easier or better or whatever. Okay, so go check out all of her stuff. It's amazing. If you haven't already followed her on Instagram, do it now because
Something for everyone. Absolutely.
there is something that's actually 100% true. I want to own your Golden Girls piece, but that's a separate matter. We'll talk about that off air. Would you do us a favor and help us pick tokens for next week?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Well, that's it for the interview portion. Up next, we're going to draw some tokens. The tokens portion every week is when we get to find out the categories that we're going to use to pick our topics for next week. So here are the tokens right here. They're all in my hand. I'm going to lay them on my desk, shuffle them up. They're face down. I can't see what's on them. She can't see what's on them. Erin, why don't you give me a number between 1 and 3, and you'll be picking for Luke.
2.
Luke, you got toys and games.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
50-50.
All right, and 1 or 2, and you'll be picking for Patrick.
1 for Patrick.
Patrick, you've got TV and
Hey,
film.
we did it.
That means
Erin,
I
you
have
did
art
it.
and design. That
3,
means we
4,
all
3.
have our own
Wait,
category.
3, 4, 3.
Congratulations. Erin, you're one of only a handful of guests who has ever given us our own category. So you are among the elite. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So you're a blast. You're super fun and super cool. Go check out Erin's stuff and patronize her. I mean, in a good way. Like, buy things from her. I'm going to stop talking. Just do it. You can find all of the show notes and links to the stuff we talked about in this episode at mof1podcast.com. You can also find them if you're on our YouTube channel just below this video in the comments area. Leave a comment on here, share, like this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe on iTunes as well. Rate and review the show if you're on there. Every little bit helps. It's free. It's super helpful to us. So if you want to help out the show in a way that doesn't cost you any money, but just a little bit of time, that's how you can do it. If you want to support the show financially, go to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/MF1podcast. For a handful of dollars a month, you can help us out a ton, and you will get some bonus content. We're M of One Podcast on all the different social platforms. Join the Slack conversation and join the community in there. Just go to mof1podcast.com/Slack, and we have a good time in there. I promise you, you won't regret it. But I think for now, we're gonna get out of this episode. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Luke.
I'm Erin.
Peace out.
Bye.
Hold on to your butt.